What do you do when another parent calls your daughter a thug? My 11-year-old daughter Tempest broke a boy's nose, and honestly, I wish she'd broken more. I was flipping pancakes, thinking about absolutely nothing important, when my doorbell went absolutely insane. Your daughter is a monster! My neighbor Mrs. Sinclair screamed as I opened the door and saw 6 boys standing behind her. She's a violent thug. She attacked my son. Attacked him. We're talking assault charges. Jail time. I'm calling my husband right now. Was this woman okay in the head? My daughter is 11 years old and she actually wants jail time for her. Her son Griffin was behind her, holding his nose with red all over his white shirt, crying and sobbing. But here's the thing. My daughter just stood there with a frown on her face, staring at this boy like she was disappointed. What had my sweet baby girl done? Inside, everyone. Now, I managed to say. The whole circus parade followed me in. 6 boys who looked ready to run. One hysterical mother threatening lawsuits, and my daughter, who was now examining her knuckles like she was checking her manicure. What a diva. The pancakes were burning now, which only added to my growing headache. Mrs. Sinclair, I need to understand what happened here, I said, trying to sound reasonable while my kitchen was literally on fire behind me. You want to know what happened? She was practically foaming at the mouth. Your daughter happened. These boys were just walking home from school, and she jumped Griffin. She beat him senseless. Look at his face. Griffin moaned dramatically, like he was auditioning for the Oscars. But Tempest? She was still frowning and staring right at Griffin's face like she had unfinished business. Tempest, I said, kneeling down to look my daughter in the eyes. What really happened, baby? Tempest looked at me with her brown eyes and then began telling a story. Remember how you told me I was allowed to use my boxing lessons on bad people? Well, Griffin and his friends were playing a game at the park. Mrs. Sinclair exploded. Playing? So your daughter broke his nose while all they were doing was playing. She's, let her talk, you freaky gremlin, or I'll break your nose so you can match with your son, I said to her in a threatening tone, and Mrs. Sinclair instantly went silent. Tempest continued. All 6 of them made a circle around me and said I had to play their game whether I wanted to or not. They wouldn't let me leave. The boys were inching toward the door now, and I noticed 2 of them had gone completely pale. Griffin was the leader. He said everyone who passes through the park has to pay a toll. I told him I didn't have any money, but he said that was okay because there were other ways to pay. Mrs. Sinclair's face was getting redder by the second, but she'd stopped interrupting thanks to my threat. He said since I was pretty, I could pay with a kiss instead, in front of all his friends, to prove I wasn't a little baby who was scared of boys. My heart went numb at what I'd just heard. I turned my head to look at that boy, and Griffin had shrunk so far behind his mother you could barely see him anymore. When I said no, that's when he started talking about you, Mom. He said the reason I was scared of boys was because I didn't have a dad around to teach me. He said Dad probably left because you were boring, because you didn't know how to keep a man interested. Tempest was fuming, like she was more angry at me being insulted rather than her being in danger. The room had gone completely silent, and then she said, Mom, after Griffin talked about you, I decided he was bad and decided to use my lessons on his face. So I tackled him to the ground, put my knees around him to lock him in place, and started pummeling his cheeks. Whoosh, whoosh. She even made the motion with her arms, showing us exactly how she beat him up. I think I only landed around 23 punches before his mom arrived. My face was completely red now, half from embarrassment at how proud I felt, and half from the anger I was feeling. Mrs. Sinclair went purple as she instantly tried to take control. Lies! Those are all lies. My son and his boys were just playing. Your daughter is making things up to avoid consequences. I stood up very slowly, even pausing halfway for dramatic effect, and looked that woman right in the eye. Mrs. Sinclair, you wanted to talk about consequences? Let's talk about the consequences of 6 boys surrounding 1 girl. Let's talk about the consequences of demanding a toll from a child. But as I was speaking, standing up for my daughter, I noticed that Tempest was still frowning and looking at Griffin. What's wrong, sweetheart? It's okay. You did everything right. But she shook her head, then looked at me with this 100% sincere expression and said, I wanted to get a few more punches in. Griffin ran out the room like he'd just seen a ghost.